All right, everyone. It must be Friday because it's time for the Q&A with Alan and Marshall show. Happy Friday. What a week. So happy to be here. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right. You know what? This Michigan, look who just
Oh,
walked
here he
in.
is.
Oh my gosh.
Look
So
who's here.
Hey guys.
So
how are you doing, man?
we've been sending Gavin messages and we're thinking all types of disaster scenarios. Gavin was supposed to be on the show today, and we were about to say we'll have to reschedule, and here he is, the man himself.
Well, let me call the police because I have them looking for you laying in a ditch dead. So
I'm looking at my calendar and I don't see a link in the calendar, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I was like, let me check the email.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there goes our
anyway,
first topic.
Yeah.
Well, Marshall, I had to come up with alternative topics. And our first topic
we're winging it, buddy. So anyway, we're happy that Gavin's here. If you don't know Gavin St. George's, let me tell you, he is one of the nicest guys in the industry. Yep. I met him at the ThreadX event, the first one they had in Palm Springs, and he had the tiniest business cards on the planet, which is to me the most hilarious thing still is he's got this business card. I swear it's like a half inch. It's like the tiniest little thing. And anyway, and I've known him for a while since then, and he's doing some good stuff with Seps.io, and we'll be getting into all that in a minute. But
and a great story. I met Gavin there at the same place at ThreadX in Palm Springs. I remember besides meeting Gavin there too, of going, it's Palm Springs, California, and it was freezing. Do you remember that, guys? It was like cold as can be.
I don't remember it being.
I just remember it freezing. It was terrible.
Yeah.
What I remember from Palm Springs was that was my first time going to Palm Springs, and I had got a car rental, and I had to drive to San Diego Airport. Now, I had never driven up a mountain before in a car. I'm using
really?
a flat road, and I'm going up the mountain, and I'm going probably a lot slower than the rest of the traffic. And I look because I don't want to fall off the side of the mountain because it's like there's no guardrails. And I look back and I see a line of people and just I'm sure they was mad. Who the heck is this guy? Why is he slowing us down?
He's in a rental.
You are now at that point you were that person.
Yeah. Hey, Gavin, I think your computer mic is on and not your main one, just because you sound very echoey.
Oh no, let's see here.
So while Gavin's working on that, we want to say hello to some folks. So Cindy says good morning.
Morning, Cindy.
Brian's here from Missouri.
Yeah, here we go.
Our friend Ray's here. Good seeing you. Charles is here. And then Ray said, if the dude from Michigan says it's freezing, it's cold.
You know what? Because I was expecting Southern California. I was looking forward to being, it was February going, I can get away from the cold. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was that first event, meet and greet event was outside. They had the heaters on and all that. And
yeah.
I don't remember, but
there was a few of them. There was the one in Phoenix. That was the last one, right?
Yeah. Yep. The first one, that was the one where Johnny Cupcakes was there and
Tim Williams and Ricardo Crispa.
Ricardo Crispa was there. He stole the show.
And then the guys from Custom Ink came in and they played the Darth Vader theme.
And boy, I will give them credit, man. What an uncomfortable setting for them.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Do you remember that, Gavin?
I mean, a bunch of screen printers and the big behemoth that's taking all our business away is.
Oh yeah. So, yeah. They got hammered a little bit there. It was all right, but I give them credit. They went up there and said, "Here's what we're about." So
yeah, I mean, as a business owner, I get it because I think we all a lot of us trying to be like them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, So
Well, and what I bring away from that too, custom ink is custom ink.
Yeah.
And when I hear people saying I'm losing business to put custom ink, I'm going, why? You know what? They're expensive. They're not cheap. What do they do? Why are they taking it? Because everything they do is flawless. It's painless for the end user. Set it up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They understand customer experience and they understand marketing.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they're a tech company first, right? So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Richard's here from Michigan. Good seeing you.
Richard.
What's up, Rich?
All right. So we have some discussion points, which I think we might pivot a little bit, but we're going to do them anyway. And then
why don't
we'll talk all about what seps.io is. And
I was going to say, why don't we do that first, Marshall? Let's hear Gavin's story and stuff and how he started and all that. Is that cool?
I wanted to get our commercial out of the way and then get into
Let's do that.
Right. All right. So and allow Gavin a minute to catch his breath,
So Marshall's the pilot. He has the controls. I have the controls also, but that's if he blacks out.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Watch this. Hey, y'all, watch this.
GSG, the combination of over half a century of knowledge with industry-leading technology and the customer at the center of everything that we do. Graphic Solutions Group is a powerhouse distributor of traditional screen, sign, wide format digital printing, embroidery, and textile decorating. We are committed to our customers, providing support, educational, and consulting services. Your success is our success. We've seen these industries grow and change in our 70 years. One thing never changes: GSG's dedication providing the best products and services available. We've been around, we'll be around, from the highs and the lows, standing right here with you. GSG, the right products, right away.
And a huge shout out to GSG for sponsoring our show. They're awesome. So
they are.
Please order from them.
A lot going on. I was talking to our friend Mark Soldonic last night, and man, he's all excited. He spent all week just putting together the new applications lab, some new equipment in there.
Yep.
And he was just ecstatic as can be. So
yeah, good.
I'm looking forward to that. And he has an idea, Marshall, where you and I might have to go down there. He wants to present.
I love ideas, especially if it involves travel and hanging out with you and Mark. That sounds like
how much fun. Well, I've not
barbecue somewhere in there also.
Oh, absolutely. Now I have not been. You have been to GSG corporate, and I haven't yet. So
that's right. I went and made a video, and made fun of you. That's
and
right.
they did make fun of me on it. So yeah, it was awesome.
All right. Well, hey. Let's enough of that. Let's talk about Gavin and his company. So, Gavin, if nobody has heard of seps.io, why should they care? And I've got your website up that I'm going to, as you talk, I'm going to kind of show people. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people have not heard of seps.io, right? I think it's, when people hear seps.io, at least in the beginning, people used to be like, hey, first of all, who are you? So I think it's important to kind of start there, like, who am I? And
do it.
How I even got here, right? So I'm living my life down in South Florida, living the American dream. My parents and I, we migrated to the US, and, I have a really good job. My parents are proud of me, and I met my wife. We starting a family. It's like everything's working out the way I want it to work out. And one day, my wife, she's pregnant with our second kid, and she came to me with this idea. She was like, "Hey, I guess she had a lot of free time in her hand, right? She came to me with this idea about doing onesies and stuff for our kid that was coming up." right? Because she wanted to, do cool stuff. So she came to me. I'm working this like regular job. We're making decent money. I'm like,
This is back when you worked at Best Buy, right?
I was a GM for this company called Office Depot.
Office Depot.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
misremembered.
you were a general manager. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had, it was doing a lot of movement in the South Florida market, and it was grabbing a lot of market share at the time. So I helped them like install a bunch of stores, help them renovate a bunch of stores, build a team and stuff like that. So she came to me with this idea about, hey, let's do t-shirts. I'm like, I got my hands full over here, right? Like, so I actually told her, no, I didn't want to do this thing. Like, but she persisted. And while I started just to, hey, let's go learn how to do this, right? After she declined my offer to just go to Walmart and buy a t-shirt. So, yes, when I started to help her out to find out how to do t-shirt, I don't know how to do t-shirt at this time.
How hard can it be?
Yeah.
It's just a t-shirt. It can't be difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So we learned that we needed equipment and all this stuff, but we started with really a heat press. We went to a place, we bought a heat press. We looked around the area, we found somebody that was doing some vinyl and stuff like that. And because she wanted these cool saying, my son is the best, prince of the world, whatever, right? Stuff like that. Yeah. So, but when I was researching, I kept seeing a bunch of people just like, hey, they're using this t-shirt thing to make money, build a business. And, I kept seeing a bunch of people come, when I was on YouTube, I kept seeing Ryan Moore. I kept seeing these other guys that was like, just teaching this thing. So I was super intrigued. Plus I started to get burnt out anyway in this corporate thing, like climbing the corporate ladder is really tough. And so it was and the thing is, it was kind of tough because I had a promotion set up. I had a promotion lined up where, I was in a position where I could become a district manager and, pretty much close to double our salary, right? So I'm like, should I go for that or like take a risk and do this whole t-shirt thing, live this whole corporate thing alone, right? And I'm here. So you kind of know what I did, right? So we left that alone and started our own t-shirt company from home, grew it. We end up getting an auto, now getting a manual at first, then getting an auto, end up meeting Marshall through a bunch of different events that we went to, because that was part of our thing to like be as close as possible to the community, right?
Gavin went to everything, and you still go to a lot of things. I see you everywhere. You're always there, right? And really fun.
And I believe, Gavin, you and I set up this you coming on the show at Atlantic City.
Yeah. So. It's part strategy, is also just part what I like to do, right? It's a good community to be around. You meet like really cool people, and it's really about all the efforts that you put in. If you put the efforts in, you could really make a good career out of this in this industry. So that's all that I'm trying to do. Yeah, and that's so build a business, grew a screen printing business, and that's end up actually a partner was interested in taking over our business, so we end up making a deal with the partner. They took over our business, got a little money out of it, took some time away, probably like 6 months from the industry. Took a trip to Mexico just to hang out with my kids and my family. While there, I got this crazy idea about developing because I struggled when I was running my shop with arts and with just creating artwork. Because one, as you starting out, is really, really expensive to hire in-house graphic designers, right? And if you're not a graphic designer yourself, it's going to be a struggle. We tried using freelancers. These things didn't work out so good. So my path when I was doing through my whole screen printing shop, we had some success with the art thing, but I just felt it could have been a better way. So Steps.io is really that better way, making it easier for the shop to create print-ready artwork files. We've been able to build a team that could just support them, provide them with clean systems and processes and clean solution, and also the technology tool that they
And
can
I'll
use.
tell you what's really great about Gavin's work is, and you guys know me, I'm a process guy, and Gavin has showed me under the hood of how the engine works for his company, and it's extremely process driven. There are things, there's checklists, there's a safety net, right? And that's how he ensures quality and does stuff. And I think if there is, a challenge or a mistake, they solve it right away. They're all about it. And I know that, like, one of my clients like had a key customer that had a big order, and they sent it somewhere, and their SEPs, they couldn't get it working, even though this was a really talented separator. The SEPs, it was for a huge high profile client, and I said, hey, send it to Gavin, let them take a stab at it. And they knocked it out. It got it the next morning, knocked it out, pleased the client, got the account, right? And just totally like walked them through the whole thing about how to do it. And so I know that they do a really good job. So, so anyway, so that's how I know Gavin, is just from trade shows and experiences, and also helping people. I think Gavin really does some good work, and now he's on the speaker circuit, right? You're doing stuff at trade shows, and you've done a workshop for Shirt Lab, and you're doing some really good stuff. So, hey, we got a question.
And I saw you were doing you were also doing a video podcast with someone. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, on just your story, going, hey, you can make your own business, you can make your own life,
Yeah,
and all that, which was just amazing.
So Edwin's here from El Salvador.
Edwin, how are you doing?
What's up, Al?
And Ray says, Gavin, do you do any SEPs or designs in CAD or Gerber? That's probably for like cut vinyl. What are you using for that, Ray?
No, he's doing that for the industrial market.
Yeah.
It's all done in CAD and in Gerber software, mostly CAD. I thought. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ray. But so yeah, it's a lot of engineering stuff. So that would be interesting.
So what's the answer, Gavin?
Yeah, so our focus is, at least right now, our focus is helping screen printing shops and screen printing shop owners, right? So our wheelhouse is Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, the whole Adobe suite. We also work out of Corel Draw, but I would say 90% of the stuff that we're doing are coming from the Adobe ecosystem. So that's that. Now, a lot of our guys that comes working with us, they have other skills. We just are laser line focused right now on just helping out the screen printing shops, screen printing shop owners. While we may have that skill, but it's not something that we're offering.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so I think maybe if Ray, if this is something you need, you might set up an appointment with Gavin to talk about the opportunity, and then maybe he could build a process for that as something in the future. If you can outline why it's a huge thing, right? So
yeah, that has happened where customers come to us, especially in the beginning. They would come to us and, hey, can you do this? And it would just be a quick conversation with me. I'll get back with my team. Hey, is this something that we want to take on? Is this something that we could scale and make it like frictionless? If the answer is yes and yes, then we'll take it on. Right. But if it takes away from a lot of stuff that we're doing, then we may not be able to take it on.
Yep.
All right. I run into people who need limited CAD for film all the time. With our resolution, we must use film at this stage.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. By the way, Josh is here, Sean's here, Cora's here, and I skipped over Peter Walsh. Good morning. And Peter, I'll see you next week in Chicago coming to your event. So, all right. So, and Gavin, settle a debate between me and Alan here. So he thinks you live in Miami. I think you live in Cancun. Which is it?
I actually think both of you guys are a little bit off. Right.
All right.
So I do have a place in South Florida, right? And my parents are in South Florida. My siblings are there. I lived in South Florida for the past 15 plus years, right? So that's my home base. South Florida is my home base.
Okay.
It's where my business is based, actually.
Okay.
But I've spent most of my time in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, right?
Yeah, which is
we're
just
both-
the island right off of Cancun. So
Yeah.
Right there.
yeah,
And we may be taking I don't know, because right now we could run our business wherever, right? So we're talking to some friends that are in different places. We might be spending a month, say in Puerto Rico soon. We might be taking another month, another part of Mexico. We just came from the Philippines recently. So as long as there's internet anywhere, we could be anywhere.
I did not know you were in the Philippines. That is like my favorite place in the world.
Yeah, we just came. We went. So it was crazy. For the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, I took a trip to Canada, did a trade show in Canada. So I was out my house the whole month. So I did Canada, then right from Canada, flew to the Philippines, had a retreat with our team that's there, team members, and then came straight to Impression, Long Beach. That took like 26 to maybe 26, 27 days in total.
Where in the Philippines is your team located at?
They're all over, right? So they remote based workers. So a lot of them are around the Manila area, but there's not, as long as they have internet, they have the skills, and they fit into what we're trying to do.
Awesome.
yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Philippines have people. They got talented people there.
Yeah. I mean, that's one place we have, and that's not the only place because we are a completely remote solution. So as long as you have internet and you could take care of our people, then you could work with us.
Right.
Absolutely. Great.
So what, Alan? I guess we're just going to skip over our topics. We'll use them next week.
No problem.
So Gavin, what do you think the most misunderstood thing about outsourcing your art is for somebody watching right now that, maybe like I'm an ex-art director. I mean, I can do everything that your team can do, right?
Yep.
Why should I have you guys do anything? Because I know how to do it. Explain the misunderstood kind of concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you are right. You have options. Like you literally have options. We are one of those options. And if it's a fit, use us. If we're not a fit, don't use us, right? And so your first option, you could do it yourself. You could, but you're gonna cap yourself out because like there's only so much work you could do in a day, right? Yourself. You could decide to hire an in-house graphic designer, right? Same with in-house graphic designer, especially now you're gonna have a hard time trying to find one like in your local area that knows garment decoration. That's right. There's some training that goes along with that, and just hiring people. Like if you need somebody right now for a need, it's probably going to take you a month to a month and a half before that person could come in and maybe start delivering result. Right? Maybe, right? Because you got to go through putting the job post out, doing the interviews, doing the onboarding, getting that person that like first week or so training just to like baby step them, right? So, and also the expense that comes with that. I actually think is a really great, if you could build an in-house team, do it. But the expense that comes with that may not, maybe it could, right? So outsource, the problem with outsource has always been this, right? Especially if you in the States, there's going to be language barriers, right? if there's language barriers, you pretty much can't work with the person, right? Because they can't understand what you're saying. They just don't get you, right? And a lot of time there was this person somewhere in the world, and you can't really trust them. Can you trust them with in the past it used to be credit cards. Can you even trust them? Like, will they be reliable, or will they just ghost you, right?
Mhm.
And usually if you work in, let's say, with just one freelancer, that freelancer is taking on a whole bunch of work. They can't really dedicate themselves to you, right? So those are some, like, when you work with a service provider, say like us, that builds a solution, that has a team, right? That has systems and process in place, that has a founder that has run a screen printing shop, and that has gone through a lot of the problem that screen printing shop owners goes through. It has a lot of it. Your risk of working with an outsourced service provider like us is like almost non-existent, because you're getting a free trial to start with.
Mhm.
You're getting a guarantee, like if things doesn't work out, we'll take care of you, or we'll give you your money back. Plus, you get in the network effect where, like, now when you work with us, you have access to all of these people. Like, our people that get certified to do the work. But if an artist is not fit for your account, all right, no problem. Let's get you another artist. How long would that take you to do? That would take you a whole nother month and a half to just redo that again, right? Uh, but with us, like, or I'm not even gonna say steps, with a service provider that's like us, that's the benefit of just working with. But now if that service provider makes it super convenient,
Yeah.
pricing is fair, you could trust the founder, you could trust their business practice, then it's almost like, why not? Right?
Sure.
So, if you're watching right now, if you've got any questions for Gavin about artwork or outsourcing artwork, or also just non-art stuff, maybe you've got a process question. Gavin is one of the most process-oriented people that I've seen his process maps. I know full well what he does, right? And
Right.
so I think that's kind of something that, if you're curious about that, maybe how it could be something completely unrelated to artwork that you want to do something process mapping. Maybe ask him about that, right? So feel free to put that at comments in the chat, kind of a thing. Would love to see that.
Gavin, your people, when you're training and stuff, is it training for like Adobe certification, stuff like, tell me about the training that you have for them.
Yeah. So it starts out, let's say, because it's different people. There's graphic design that does the technical things, right?
Mhm.
The print files and stuff like that, color separation, the proofing, right? So there's a set of training for that. But we also have support people, because we know graphic designers are great at graphic design, but they're not so good at communicating. And they're not so great at like project management. So a lot of time, if you're just dealing with one graphic designer, like, you're really forcing that person to do multiple jobs, right? Graphic designing, which is what they really like to do, plus you forcing them to do customer service, and they're gonna do it because they want of course they need the money. The money's part of it. They got to be able to take care of themselves and their family, so they're gonna reluctantly take it, but they're not gonna do a good job at it. So that's why we made it, at least for us, we made it, hey, there's support people, which we call account managers.
Mhm.
And then there's the graphic designer. So we pair those two together. So as far as the training, there's a track for account manager, there's a track for graphic designer. And those people could even end up becoming leads or even managers in our company, right? Depending like the energy that they bring to our business. So for graphic designers, what we look for is people that if we could find somebody that has worked in a screen printing shop and is also a graphic designer, that's like gold, right? But then you can't always find that. There's only so many of those people around, right? What we try to do is find those, have those get to the top, so then they could pass the information down to other people that we come in that just maybe have just graphic design skill. That person need to come in with a portfolio that we could examine first thing, and then they go through our training. We give them like a week and a half to 2 weeks training of just like do these projects internally, right? And then we're testing these projects, we're grading them. Of course, they got to do other things too, like training just on the company. What is the problem we're solving? Who's the customer? Like what is our company? Yeah.
And you train them on like how to choke an underbase, how to do basic, how to separate simulated process into spot color, right? The challenges that a lot of shop owners face, and I think this is what's really applicable to our industry, because it isn't just, like here's the logo separated, but that's just the basic stuff. But it's how do we make it work for t-shirt printing, right? Or how do we make it work for DTG printing, where you're mapping to a color gamut or something, right? So like this is what's really important in this industry, is that it works for our equipment and our use and our utility. Yeah, I think Gavin's crew does a really good job with that.
Yeah, that is part of their training. And we know a lot of, at least for me, when I was first starting, any job that came with an underbase, I struggled with. Because at first I was in a manual, just getting those to line up was just a pain, right? So if the art wasn't properly separated, I was there like pulling I don't have any hair.
That's why.
I was struggling, right? So I remember those pain. Like I remember that. And I remember if the art is like, especially like high simulated process jobs. Like in the beginning, I struggled a lot, just like getting the halftone right. Even with those, like where to choke, because there's some parts on a simulated process job you should just knock out the base completely because you want the tones to just fall into the shirt. But an artist has to understand that.
Yeah, we can use the shirt color to modulate the ink. So printing, for example, red on a black shirts, right? If there isn't an underbase, now you've got maroon.
Yeah.
And that solves not having to have that color, right? But you got to like know how to do that, right? And that's the key.
Yeah, no, it is part of the training as far as the technical aspect. And as so for me as the founder is really to set that foundation and to deliver that message. I really lean on our directors to really just drive that and making sure that the people that reports to them are, and one thing that we do as well, so jobs that come, so we have this thing that we call our simple job flow, right? And our simple job flow is pretty much a 7-step process that every job goes through, right? First thing is to make sure, you good, Alan?
Alan.
I think Alan, you good?
I'm here.
Okay. Just want to make sure you're good. It's just to make sure that the job is understood. If the job is understood by our people, then we'll get it. If the job is not understood, then we're not going to get it.
Right. That's
should
good.
Should we pause for a little bit, Alan? You need a little bit of time?
I'm good.
Yeah. So I think that's great, Gavin. You've got your training, you're getting people to know what to do. And I think that's important in any business, right? So everybody watching here has employees, right? Or people they work with. How do you get the training set up, right? So how do you use a checklist? Do you figure it out? Do you see where people are struggling and go, you know what, we really need to do a piece on whatever, right? Or, using the info tool in Photoshop to find those 3% dots that always kind of show up, right? And use a curve to like eliminate those, or whatever the problem is. How do you like understand what you need to build on your training? I think understanding that might be a good thing for everybody to kind of get into here.
Yeah, great question. And how to get to that point? If you're first starting out, like when we first started out, I wouldn't say our training was super robust. I was just coming in with what I knew, right? Because at the time there was no problems yet, right? So you just got to start with a hypothesis, what you think is going to be, right? And then what you want to do is create. So what we do is we follow it's called attraction, or the EOS framework, or the attraction
Right.
framework, right? That's how we run our business, which is literally bubbling up issues and for the issues to be talked about and solved, right?
Right. IDS, identify, discuss, solve. Yes.
Exactly. So it is part of our culture for our people to always bubble up issues, but also, for example, for us, every job we have two sets of revision. One is an internal revision, one is a customer revision, right? So internal revision is what we see because the jobs go through different layers. So an internal revision, the graphic designer has to literally it's a short report, but a report on what happened there. Why did we miss that? And we track this, goes into a Slack channel that we track all the time. So Slack is a tool that we use. We use Slack and also Jotform to just document that, because the Jotform gives you like a layout. Plus, you could just get the table at the end of the month. You could see all the things, so you could see, okay, here's a pattern here, right?
And I think everything, don't you use Asana also? Everything goes into your Asana deck?
We use what's called Notion.
Notion, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah. So Notion is where pretty much our knowledge lives, right? We document our meetings there. We document our issues there. We document performance there. It's such a great tool. You could use,
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember, you guys watching, you all have businesses, right? So Gavin's done a really good job of building this out within his company, setting the SOPs, setting the standards. This is what we want. This is the training that goes into the standards, right? So, so it isn't, I think some of the magic that Gavin provides is because he has built that. So if you think about your own company and your own, whatever you guys are doing, right? Think about, how does a new person know what to do next without being told, right? Yeah. They've got that built, right? And that's because they have the SOPs and they have the training built. And I think this is a really good thing, right? And so,
yeah.
Right. Hey,
and I'm happy to, it's not because I'm happy to even screen share. Just somebody's maybe not, I won't go into everything, but I'll show you some of the outlines that we use.
Yeah.
That bringing all this together. I mean, if it makes sense.
Yeah. The question, Alan?
No, I was wondering. So, Gavin, when you get someone calling you and a printer or something, what do you think? And this might be another topic. What do you think are the most problems that they have? That, is there sometimes I find when people go to a source like yours, that they're expecting one thing, but their expectations are totally off.
Yeah.
Do you find that a lot?
Yeah. Well, now that one of the exercises I had to do was really like just clean up our sales process, and going through this exercise has really kind of helped me help the customer better, right? Mm-hmm. Like finding out, like on the discovery call, is that customer even a good fit for us?
Sure.
It's really just like at that point when the customer is coming to us with this problem, it's not a sale. It's literally like, can we even help you? Right? This is the problem that you say you're having, which is maybe you're backed up, maybe some of the problems here, a lot of the problems are just around time. For like customers right. come to us because, hey, they are running out of time, or they either taking jobs, they have to go personally and do it at home. Their in-house team is backed up. They had somebody that was there, that person just quit. It's those type of things that's going on. That's like the trigger for the person to kind of reach out to us, right? or it could have been in their back of their mind for a long time, and they probably see something that we put out and then they triggered it.
How many calls do you get, Gavin, where people are in a panic because their artist walked off or decided they want to go become an HVAC repairman or something, right? They're just totally like, I'm out of here. And then now there's nobody doing that. And the owner of the company is absolutely losing their mind with fear, right? Yeah. How often does that happen?
I would say, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. We are a growing brand, right? We don't have the phone ringing every day. That's not what's happening, right? What's happening is people will go to our website, book a call, and then we'll get on the call and talk. So that's like our flow. But yeah, that happens often. I would say probably once or twice a month, I'm getting something like that where, dude, can you help me out today? Like, I need help right now. And at least for us and internally, when it's as bad for the person that's experiencing that, but that is the problem that we are like made to solve, like, right? If you need help right away, we'll help you right away to solve that problem. Because again, you could go try to hire somebody, but like you got jobs that's due like right now.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So it happens often, but even I would even say other people that does this solution, I don't think that they're getting a bunch of calls every day because the industry's so, just like a press manufacturer, they probably were getting a couple of calls a day, right? Or a couple of, because there's only so many shops, right?
Right. Hey, let's take a quick break and show the pulse real quick, and then we can come back and wrap some things up. So here is the GSG Pulse. Again, thanks so much for GSG for sponsoring our show. And today we wanted to talk about vinyl, right? So the color of the year is Pantone's Viva Magenta, right? And you can get a vinyl and use this in your decoration. And Gavin was talking earlier about how he got started using vinyl, right? Cut vinyl for shirts. And I think a lot of times, we talk about embroidery, talk about screen printing and all that kind of stuff, and we totally ignore this huge section of the market. So we wanted to give them a little airtime, a little love today, right? And so if you do vinyl, if you do heat press vinyl, you can use GSG. They've got a crazy amount of colors, and you can check all of that out here at the GSG Pulse. And so they're there for you. And that would really make them happy if you were to give them a call and check them out. So.
Well, and they handle so much vinyl and stuff. And we think of GSG as just a powerhouse of which they are in screen and digital and sign. And we forget the customization and personalization, which is just a huge market for, almost all shops. And, I know GSG actually has worked with their suppliers, whether it be Caesar, whether it be Stahl's, to have a special color made that only they will carry.
Yeah.
So check this out. I like that they're talking about color of the year, and you can see the different shades of that pink. So
I don't know about you, but that looks like red to me.
Well, it's every screen is different too. So
yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Well, hey, that's so check them out. That's gogsg.com. And let's get back here. Right.
Yep.
So, all right. And so, Gavin, we've got about 15 minutes or so left in the show. So, where do you think the industry is going as far as, needs and technology? And we're doing a lot with online stores. It looks like a lot of shops, their ability to send work out, the time is being compressed. And a lot of that has to do with Amazon. Like I ordered something from Amazon today because I'm out of ink for my printer, right? And it's going to be delivered by 3:00.
Yep.
So it's like it's free, right? So I think a lot of people, Amazon has taught us that, you know what? You need to be impatient.
Yep.
You need everything right now, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit and how you see the industry just from your perspective. I'm very curious about that.
Yeah. The industry is gonna go where the general population goes, right? Just like you said, Amazon is forcing majority of this. It is changing our behavior by a lot because now we don't have the patience to wait a whole bunch of time. Like uh, if a shop, for example, is saying, "Hey, I'm gonna take your order. There's a 2 week lead time." That customer on the other end is gonna be like, 2 weeks? That just seems like forever, right? So the industry like has to really adapt, and it is adapting. That's why now you've seen there's a lot of DTFs. Uh, like the past couple of shows that I've been to is like I've never seen so much DTF like that in the past, right? There's a bunch of DTFs. The transfers, a lot of people now, because I remember in the past when I first got started, there was almost this like screen printers didn't want to use transfers. They did not want to use transfers, but now a lot of folks are uh, very open to using transfers, decorating like there's that super color effect, right?
Yep.
Or other folks that start doing transfers. So I see that happening. And I think the next wave now, because right now AI is the talk of everybody, right? How can you use AI to just eliminate like steps in a clunky workflow, or a lot of time eliminate people in the workflow, right? So I think AI will start to come into the industry. I've had a couple of conversations with folks about them building a couple of things that could be used in the industry. Um, I've I've dabbled around with AI. I've had my fears around it, right? I think Marsha and I we talked about that. Just like I wasn't sure about the legality and stuff like that, so I kind of held back what I wanted to do with AI. But I think because we have yeah, we have some ideas, more than ideas. We got some stuff already in the works, right? So
Yeah.
the industry's yeah, the industry is just gonna adapt what the general population does. Like it's gonna adapt to the political environment. It's gonna adapt to what these big business or big tech companies do. Yeah.
Right. I think you're so right. And I think it's very interesting. You know, you're always going to have early adopters getting into things and rolling up their sleeves and getting their like totally immersed and making all the mistakes. And, you know, and then 3, 4, 5 years from now, that's when like the cattle herd will follow them. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In the meantime, they have established market share and done some things, and there will be dominant players in this, right? And so we're already seeing some shops like Blue Cotton in Bowling Green, Kentucky. You know, they have an online design tool that's connected to AI, and your customers can design just with prompts, and that's already happening, right? And so I think it's going to be very interesting how we do things, and you're seeing more and more. I think DTG will still be around. I think DTF is a really good option. I think what's really interesting is hybrid technology, especially for longer runs, where you're using screens as the underbase, but we're using digital technology on top. I think that's really interesting, especially with any type of hybrid personalization, you know, where you can print 400 shirts, but every image is different, right? And but it's all the same underbase, right? So I think there's just all kinds of crazy things that are going to be happening, and the sky's the limit. And I think you have to get in and kind of monkey around with some stuff to kind of figure it out, right? And that's what's going to be interesting. And you know, and look, we've got people watching this from India, watching this from other countries,
El Salvador, yeah.
El Salvador, right? So it's a global thing, right? And the world is flat because of the internet, right?
Yep.
And how are we delivering for our customers or what we're doing? You're calling in from an island in Mexico right now.
Yep.
I mean, so it's just crazy just to think about, 15 or 20 years from now ago, right? You couldn't have imagined any of this.
No. So I always tell. So I was born in Haiti. So and I migrated to the U.S. At 11 years old, right? And I always have this conversation with my kids because my kids are all they know is technology, everything technology, iPads, iPhone, television, or whatever. And I told them, like, when my first decade of my life, I was a shepherd. Like, I literally had a flock of goat, had to go up the mountains and make sure they fed. I didn't see a television until I was like 9 years old, 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
And it's funny, and that's like, and I remember it's also funny because like sometimes I'll travel with my mom, and one time I'm traveling with my mom, and we didn't get upgraded to business class. She was like, "Man, they should have upgraded." And I had to remind my mom, "Hey, remember like a few years back we was riding a donkey, so
You know what?
we're
The
good
travel,
here, right?"
I think we've all been there as much as we all travel, where we become the travel snob. I almost in my mind have to remind myself going, I'm almost offended that I didn't get the upgrade. What is that? And yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, but now it just goes to show like the world's changing though, like access to technology, access to information. Everybody could play as long as they could bring in value to solve some of the world's problem.
Right.
Yeah. The war, I always like to say the world has gotten small. We still live in a huge, big world.
Yeah.
But it has gotten smaller as far as communication. And just that makes your customer base even smaller. There are no real geographic boundaries anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what are you excited about most, Gavin? What's just like you're chomping at the bit and you can't wait for something? What is that?
It's crazy right now because I have to. One of the commitment I made to myself was stay focused on what I'm doing.
Right.
I was presented with another business opportunity. I had to fight myself to like, no, don't even look at it, right? Because we're not done with the work that we're doing. So I'm just excited about the progression that I'm seeing right now with our company. I'm excited about how our team is coming together, and literally they're running the business because they've been able to be trained up and understand the problem. So on the business side, I'm excited about that. On the personal side, my kids are growing. All my kids are they're pretty much independent now, so I don't have to change any diapers anymore. But now I can have a real conversation with them, which is kind of cool, right? I could talk. I travel with my daughter to do some like she's really interested in like business, and that's one of the things I if anything, that's what I could offer to her.
You brought her to Shirt Lab in Chicago last year.
She's been to a couple events.
Yeah.
I think we've all met her.
She wants to go to the trade show, but the trade shows they don't allow anybody that's that young.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited, just like being able to like help mold her, and I'm actually more excited about that than say a business thing.
Yeah, right. That's good. Yeah. I totally get it. My son's finishing up his freshman year of college right now. He's getting ready for finals. And, and we will be driving up there on the 11th, I think, the 10th, 11th, whatever the Wednesday is of that week. And to move him out of his dorm so we can come home for the summer. Right. And and get a job.
Does he have that set up yet?
He's working on it. So, and because I told him he can't just sit around the house and play Xbox all summer. Right? He's got to do some stuff, right? So
he's helped you out. I saw him at the event that you did a couple of years back.
Yeah, he was in Fort Worth. He's a good kid. I'm trying to figure out if he's going to come down to New Orleans or not. That's our next big Shirt Lab event. Yeah. Probably not, because New Orleans has lots of bars. And I know he won't be able to go in. So, and he's not old enough for that. So,
and Jack, I love the question is like, is that all you guys talk about are T-shirts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is.
He's like, that's it. He knows the stuff, right?
Yep.
And what's really great about that kid is he'll get like a T-shirt, and I go, Dad, look at this. And he's such a T-shirt snob. He's like, look how it's misregistered.
Oh, yeah. I caught. You know how many times I had to stop myself? I go to the store where and you're touching the shirt or you're touching the ink to see how what's the hand feel of the ink. My wife would look at me like, and before the T-shirt thing, it was crazy because I used to work retail. One of the things about retail, you got to have things perfectly lined up on the shelf.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like it's called laser line, and like in the retail world, that's how I learned it.
Yep.
Everywhere I'd go, I'd be fixing things, making things symmetrical, like pulling things to the front. I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. It's crazy that we have that kind of thing. And like my family knows, there goes Dad. He's over there checking out the shirts.
Yeah.
And
not going to buy one, but I'm checking it out.
I'll take some pictures of them, and like, look at this. Sometimes you see some really cool stuff. And that's what I appreciate is like there's a really cool design that was puff ink printed over a pocket. Like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
Look at that. And like everybody's like, shut up.
So, two things I last year when I was in the Philippines, I was at the store with some friends and I was looking at the shirts and they go, "What are you looking at, Alan?" And they know what I do. They're Filipinos and stuff. And I just said, I'm looking, they go, are you looking to see what's wrong with it? I said, no, what I'm trying to figure out was this done with, it was a puff print, but I couldn't figure out if it was done water-based puff or plasticell puff. And I liked how they did. So I do that. Then the other part is my nephew has some pretty nice sweatshirts and stuff that he likes to wear, printed ones. And they know that, I can look at a shirt and you can, all three of us can, and we've done it and go, what's wrong with this? Because no print from one to another is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And Miguel kept asking me, and finally, a couple of weeks went by and he's wearing it. He goes, all right, Uncle Alan, his mom's there. And he goes, tell me what's wrong with it. I go, and Miguel has OCD. I said, Miguel, I'm not going to do that because as soon as I show you what I see, you won't be able to unsee it then. Yep. And so he held up his shirt in his hand and finally kept on. And he goes, go ahead and do it. I go, all right, you're going to hate this afterwards. And I said, first of all, I go, here's how you see a shirt. You see it from 4 feet away. He goes, yeah. He goes, this is a good print. I go, it's a great print. It's retail ready. It's all that. He goes, what do you see? I go, lower left-hand corner underneath that one big curve there. I go, it's out of register. He goes, what do you mean? I said, there's white. It's the red's printed on top of white. And I go, can you see the white on the line there? That's all he sees now. I said, I told you. I said, don't make me do that again.
You ruined them.
Oh, yeah, I ruined that sweatshirt. He goes, I love it still. But I'm like, that's all. I go, I told you. Yeah. Welcome to my world.
Hey, we got some good comments. So let's get to them. So Ray says transfers are also less passe because the expectations of the customer base are in a downswing, right? So that's really interesting. And then Tindra is here again. This is his third, fourth. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Cora says, great show. Nice to meet you, Gavin. Much success. And then Gene says, industrial guys do the same. We're snobs about how things are put together. you'll see me at a store pushing tactile buttons and how they built the HMI, right? So,
yep. So we have,
and then Ray says, so true.
So Gavin, just so you know, Ray Greenwood and Gene Hash both work in that industrial. And Gene, buddy, I owe you a phone call. I want to see how you're doing. So we're hanging in there with you. But you know, I don't know how much you're familiar with industrial printing, where it's all electronic. It's any you know, dial that's on your car, and you know, membrane switch that is all screen printed. So they're at a higher level. But I remember taking Gene when he was with a company. They were looking at a autocoder, and what they needed, the only one that for the company I worked for that was close to him was 2 hours away, and it was at a large textile shop. And Gene had never been in a high-end textile shop before. And when he came away, yes, he bought the coder from me, so I appreciate that. But you know what was cool? The conversation him and I had for weeks afterwards is how much going, okay, because the processes in textile were always lower than industrial, of how much they have increased and that it's not far away. And it was incredible. So I think that's why, Gavin, why Ray was asking about, do you do CAD and stuff? Because that's the market they're in.
Yeah.
And they're giving a little bit more. And it's
a bigger market, Gavin, if that matters to you. So
yeah, and they don't mind spending money for it either.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gavin doesn't like money, I can tell.
Yeah. But it has to be near perfect, because when you're doing a very thin line with a silver conductive ink, that might cost $1,200 a pint.
Yeah.
You know.
It's just, I mean, I know what I know, and I also know what I don't know. And why promise somebody something that I can't do, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm open to learning.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're about out of time. So, Gavin, what you doing this weekend? You got big plans? What's going on?
We'll probably, our weekend, sometime we'll go to a beach club. So that we're probably going to do that. We got to confirm it. So, that's it. It's nothing much. I got this little work exercise I got to do. I'm trying to I've learned this thing. It's called the perfect week. Like how to design the perfect week. Because right now, there's a lot of things to do. And I just got to design my calendar to be more effective and get, so that's my challenge right now.
Good. All right. Well, to me, success comes with intent. So how you're intending to do stuff. So you're proactively looking at your calendar for next week. You're intentional in the activities that you do. You push off the stuff that doesn't matter and you focus on the things that do. And that's how you kind of get more stuff done, and you delegate as much as you can. Right. So I do that. I know other successful people do that. And interesting, I was reading this article earlier today. One of the habits that a lot of the top CEOs do is that they do not answer their email. And email is such a time suck. And what they do is they have somebody that goes through the email for them. Yep. And then the only emails that they read are the ones that they really have to be looking at. And everything else gets removed from their plate. So
right. Interesting.
Yeah. Got that in mind. Yeah.
Good.
By the way, I guess this is a plug, right? This is going to be a plug for the people that are still here. T-shirt business podcast. Marshall, you've been in the T-shirt business podcast.
Yeah.
So Cole,
thank you.
And you're welcome to come back.
I should come back. I bet I have something else to talk about.
Yes, please come back. And your episode did really well, by the way. Very, very well.
Yeah, you just had Cole Lumstrom.
Yeah, so Cole Lumstrom and I, we partnered up. We literally taken two podcasts, T-shirt business podcast, and also building your T-shirt empire, which was his podcast. Bringing those together. So that comes out every Tuesday on all the podcast platform. It's also on Instagram, so check that out. T-shirt Business Podcast.
All right, great, cool. All right, well, hey, we got to go. We're over time already, so we want to be respectful for everyone. So thank you so much for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you again, Gavin, for hanging out today. Don't leave. I'm just going to end the show. So, appreciate everyone. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you next week. By the way, I will not be on the show because I'll be at the M&R event. So before we go, Alan, who do we have as a guest? Who's the guest?
I'm excited. It's going to be completely out of my wheelhouse, but we have Liz Beavers from GSG, our sponsor. There, she is the segment manager for the embroidery, and we're going to be talking all things embroidery. A lot of new things coming up, some things that we've alluded to but never really talked about. So bring your embroidery questions, bring your embroidery art. I just saw cool tips and tricks she did for GSG on getting better, crisper leathers with different weights of threads. And this is the things we don't talk about as much because, Marshall, you and I basically don't know it.
Yeah, right.
And I am real excited about having her on. So
yeah,
I will try to handle the controls a lot better.
Yeah.
And not override Marshall like I do a lot of times, but yeah.
All right.
But it'll be good. So
all right. Hey, we'll see you next week. And thanks for watching. Take care.